I've never seen you.
He-
Did he?
Yeah. He's like, I understand your breathe that nice. I said, no, I'm not. He said, yeah, you are. Right.
We'll do this, sorry, Bill.
Yeah.
Columbus.
What's that?
You went over to Columbus.
Yeah.
Want to be there for another month?
All right, it is November 21st, 2022, 5:45 PM. We're to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. Present are council members Barker, Hottinger, Hauser, Marmy, and Labutus is sitting in for Lang. First item is the general fund unappropriated balance is at $108,839. And the budget stabilization fund stands at $1,057,736. First item on the agenda is a request for appropriation amount of $90,000.
This is a request for what we call EC unions, a unit that attach the meters that send the readings back to the for automated meter reading system. And purchased a number of those when we did the project originally, almost now 10 years ago. We have now run out of those, and we also have a lot of development coming into town right now that we're using a lot, and so this is for those units and of course a few meters to help to keep up with developments, and that's what this is for. So we didn't budget for this year, didn't realize we're gonna have as many new connections as we were gonna have this time last year. So
Second. Motion by Barker, second by Labutus. Any questions and or discussion?
Mr. Chair, why do we not do capital improvements for this instead of through finance? Is there a?
this is water funds, it's enterprise funds that don't.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Roger, just ballpark here, $90,000. How many meters is that?
The units are about $110 a piece, so
That's a lot.
whatever that is, comes to, and then that's the empty units, and then the meter is about $75 or so. Yeah, we keep a stock of these, and so it's just stock that goes up for the next couple of years.
Thank you.
Very good. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, send this on the full council, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much, Roger. Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation amount of $600.
This is one of those occasions where one of our vendors is managed to restrain unit, and they pay us back $600.
Motion.
Second. Motion by Barker, second by Hauser. Questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, send this on the full council, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $50,000.
So this $50,000 is a grant that we received from Ohio EPA to finish up our inventory of our lead service lines. So we're working on that currently. It's a fairly big project for us. This is a grant to hire some additional help to go out and get into each individual houses and determine what plumbing is in their house, right? And so this, we're going out into the field trying to determine that. We hired ADR, local engineering firm, to help us with that project. And they have a person that's been doing that for us, and we've been paying for out of our funds. We did receive this grant of $50,000 to pay them to go finish this project up. And so that's just appropriating that money into an account that we can, hire them to increase their purchase order to finish this job up.
I have a motion from Barker, second by Hauser. Yes, Mr. Hauser, go ahead.
For that project, have you had any difficulty actually getting into the homeowner's home? That I heard that was going to be some difficulty.
We've had a few places that people have refused us entry. I mean, it sounds kind of silly to get a free water line and it's in the house, but they do. We'll eventually get in. taken any measures to try and, we've got enough places to go. We don't need, if you tell us no, we're gonna go someplace else until we get a small list at the end, and then we're gonna try to get into those places. I mean, we do have we can show water so people typically that's in. But we don't want to get into that. I mean, we're trying not to do that. Yeah, you know, we have to.
Okay, appreciate it.
Any further questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, send us on the full council signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. With that, one other thing just to kind of explain, there is going to be legislation introduced to council as far as the negotiations and the contract with the firefighters. That will not be discussed in committee. It will be invoked utilizing Rule 11 and presented straight to council this evening. So just to let you know kind of where that's at and why we're not discussing it here. It did not meet the time constraints to take any action. We will have to go into executive session. So therefore, for all council members to be present and to just do one executive session, we're going to do that at full council. So with that, this finance committee meeting stands adjourned.
Started with kind of.
Everybody says. That's what you agree.
Just shake your head, just say yes.
Yeah, I get it.
All right, we'll call the service committee meeting to order. Those present are myself, Brad Harris, Barker, Line, and Hottinger. Up first, we'll consider resolution 22-107. Resolution authorizing and directing the director of public service of the city of Newark, Ohio to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the replacement of the roof system on the influent pump station at the wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Lewis.
Yeah, this is just the authorized service director, so we can advertise for bids for this project. This is at the wastewater treatment plant. We're gonna be utilizing the same firm, because it's gonna be a design build thing that we used at the ice arena earlier. It's an engineering firm that does the design work and then oversees the construction of the roof. It's about $100,000.
We're advertising, which is asking the obvious. We're advertising for bids. Do we know who we're using?
It's gonna be a design build, so they're a design firm, they're gonna put the bids together for us, they will accept the bids, and once we get the bids, then they will manage the contract for us, just like we did at the roof. We do not know who we're going to be hiring yet, but this will be a design build.
That makes more sense. Gotcha. So I understand. Sorry. Thank you. Any questions for the committee?
Motion.
Motion by Barker, seconded by Klein. Questions from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this on to council, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That'll pass with a vote of 5-0. Up next will be ordinance 22-46, an ordinance changing the zoning classification of Turkey Row property generally described as 225 Hudson Avenue, City of Newark, Lincoln County, Ohio, parcel tax ID number 054-27004. H -00.000 from that of DC downtown zoning district to HB high intensity business district zoning code of the city of Newark, Ohio. For anybody here to speak of it? Anybody at all? Are you you here, are you here to speak about this issue?
I have a question about it.
Find out if there's somebody here to speak about it first. If there's nobody here to speak about it, your question is relevant. Anybody else? Anybody on the committee have a thought or a motion?
Who requested it?
Leave the property.
Yeah, I believe it's the gentleman on Hudson who,
This is Cody's.
this is Cody's that,
I appreciate you raising your hand, but didn't recognize you.
oh,
Yeah, the leasing.
Gotcha.
Colton Rogers, 94 Climate Street. Yeah, this is the pet shop that's on St. Clair.
Okay.
So it's Cody. He's I don't know if you guys got the all the information he gave you guys, but he's a really responsible fellow. So I trust that he will keep that corner safe and move forward. So thank you.
Fair enough. They will have any motion. Do you have a question? Still?
Yeah. That area was just deemed as part of a downtown business district, and I'm sort of surprised that they're changing the status of it already.
Was there a question in there somewhere?
Why
Did you have a question?
are they changing the designation
Who is
for
that?
the city?
So a zoning request change does not come from the city. The zoning change request comes from the property owner, or in this case, the leasing of the property. It
Okay.
never comes from the city. It comes to the city for us to either approve or disapprove.
What is it being leased for?
Tattoo and art studio.
Oh, okay, I'm actually familiar with that. Thank you.
So do we have any motions? All right, that issue will die for lack of a motion. Sorry, Cody. Up next, resolution number 22-109, a resolution authorizing and directing the director of public service of the city of Newark, Ohio to proceed with the steps necessary to designate a portion of West Main Street between 6th Street and 3rd Street in the downtown area as Herbert J. Murphy Jr. Way.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a very appropriate way to recognize Mr. Murphy and all he's done in the community. You could start with the Yes House, you could start with the transitional housing, you could talk about all his gifts to the parks, you could talk about him redoing Quantum's baseball field many years ago. It just doesn't end with him and his giving to the community, and particularly to people in need. He really likes to give that way, so I think it's a nice way to recognize that. His family has owned the building across the street since the 1850s. So that's why we kind of take that, this area, that street.
Any questions for the committee?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Honinger. Did you have a question, Ms. Vaughn?
No.
No, sir, just a second.
Second by Ms. Vaughn. Yes, sir, hand up. Any questions from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor, as to decide on the council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
That'll pass with a vote of 5-0. Thank you. I will go back to ordinance number 22-46, that's the zoning classification change. I've spoken with Cody myself personally, been down to visit the property. I think he's a great guy. I think he's got a great plan. Somewhat, but changing the zoning classification in that particular place to what he wants to change it to make it appropriate for what he wants to do. Maybe fine and dandy because he's a great guy, but it does absolutely nothing to protect that property from putting in a bowling alley or a movie theater or any other type of high density business that zoning would call for. So anytime I make a zoning decision, I, for lack of a better term, plan on the person zoning that property failing, and then look to see what can come in after that. And that is just inappropriate for that property, without a doubt. So that's why I did not support that. With that being said, service committee is adjourned. Up next will be
Economic development.
economic development. Thank you. I was going to say personnel.
Well, come up here. Don't get too comfortable now. Yeah. You're on economic.
I was thinking ahead.
I looked over and just gone like,
That's when you know you share a community that often, there's no.
yeah, right, exactly. I'd like to call the Economic Development Committee meeting to order. President or council members Hauser, Bryan, Blind, Harris, and Barker. Tonight, we're going to discuss ordinance number 2247, amending ordinance number 06-61 to include additional public infrastructure improvements related to an existing tax increment financing exemption in the city of Newark, Ohio, granted pursuant to section 5709.40B of the Ohio Revised Code, Mount Vernon Road TIF, and authorizing a supplement to the revenue sharing agreement with Newark City School District. Director Maurer.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you had a chance to look at an email that I sent out to you last Friday to sort of prep you with this. Again, we don't talk about TIFs, tax increment financing very often. This TIF has been in place since 2006. It was originally put in place to do the realignment of Dio Drive and Waterworks Road. And we all know that's been very, very successful. So the TIF did its job there. It was a 30-year TIF back in 06, so it goes through 2036. We have 14 more years remaining on this, where it's continuing to generate revenue. And that revenue in a TIF is put towards public improvements. That's the job of the TIF. And so, talk with the mayor, service director, and certainly Brian Moorhead, the engineer, about some projects that are being considered on the table in that same vicinity of this TIF. And we have a roundabout that needs to be installed at the intersection of Horns Hill Road and Waterworks Road. And that's probably less than 1/10 of a mile from where this TIF is specifically parceled out. And so we did a little research. We talked with our TIF attorney, and it was said that our TIF was written and broad enough that we could expand this TIF to areas in that same vicinity that would do similar type of public improvements. The one caveat is we really needed to get the blessing and approval of the Newark City School Board, because it's the school board that takes that doesn't receive some of that property tax money when the TIF is implemented. So it's very important we have them on board. Well, myself and David Rhodes met with the school board, also Brian Moorhead, at the State Farm Building a few weeks back. And they were very much in favor of this. They're in favor because they have two schools, that are being affected by this TIF. It has the Hillview School on Horns Hill Road. And then this TIF is also going to be amended to include the property that would allow us to spend money for the new bridge that we need to go over the Log Pond diversion ditch back behind the Kroger store. And that would then help us bring together with that bridge, Baker and Evans Boulevard. And of course, we all know the Legend and Liberty schools are there as well. So this is a win-win. It's a win for the school district. It's a win for the residents and the businesses of Newark. If we get these projects installed and get it paid for. So that's what this is all about. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to talk with you about it further.
Thank you, Director.
Fair question. In terms of the income generated from this debt, what portion of that income will it pay for both of those projects you mentioned? And what portion of it will pay for those projects? I guess I'll ask.
Well, it depends on how much money is brought in each year.
Sure.
From the property tax.
Sure.
Anything is better than nothing. That TIF brought in about last year, the revenue was about $240,000. So, and I don't think we had any expenses to go against that last year. So it's a substantial amount of money if it continues to generate income at that level.
Thank you. Ms. Blind.
I want to thank you for doing a great job explaining that because, TIF sounds very opaque. And doesn't necessarily translate well publicly. And so I appreciate this and your email, it was very informative. And thank you again for your explanation here.
Comments from the committee?
So
Motion by Hauser. Second by Harris. Is any further discussion, questions? Any questions from the audience? That being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. That passes 5-0. Thank you, Director Maurer. And with that, the Economic Development Committee stands adjourned. Committees are adjourned and full council will start up right at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Thank you.